Congratulations on purchasing your first home. I know it can be a scary thing. I know because I've purchased my first home in my early 20s right after university, and I've been fixing them up and renting it out for almost a decade. My wife and I had many stories. Here are 4 tips that I hope will help you on your first reno. Before we jump in, I hope you've purchased a rundown house in an excellent neighborhood because those are the ones that will generate the most equity. However, if you didn't, you've still made a great decision because over time, real estate has increased. You would never be able to find a house for less than $100,000 in Toronto. Alright, here we go. Tip number 1. Add 30 to 50% more on top of your reno budget. Renovations, it's like peeling back an onion. You'll never know what you'll find behind that plastered wall. When we've purchased this house, we've hit many obstacles along the road. Here are some pictures. This is the house that we've purchased. This is the back of the house. This is the basement. You can see some of the cylinder bricks. Cylinder bricks are starting to come through the wall. The ground from behind is starting to push over. So what we did is we removed this shelving and then we would put our own to reinforce the bricks. This is the existing bathroom. This is the old furnace that was in there with the water tank. Another shot of the basement. Here is one of the most important things in the house. This is an electrical breaker that comes in 80 amps, which is the really old style homes. They're probably fuse boxes. Fuse boxes look like this. This is really not what you want to get in a home. Nowadays, it's typical to have 100 amps and 200 amps if you can find that in your home, or you can upgrade. You can check the type of wiring by looking at the types of cables that are coming out from that box. It comes in copper, aluminum, and knob and tube. Copper is the one that you really want. Knob and tube looks like this, and it's not what you want to use because it holds very little power and they tend to heat up, and when they heat up they burn the house down, so insurance companies don't really like this. Another thing that they don't like is asbestos. When you start breaking up this material, those particles settle in deep in your lungs, and over time, if you accumulate enough, you actually can cause cancer. Asbestos can be found on siding, flooring, and on around ductwork, like in this example here. Another thing that you want to look out in a house is water seeping through the basement. The solution is to dig a little trench so that when the water seeps through it, it flows down to the channels, and then we created a drain on the bottom left part of the screen. Here is another example of where the water is coming through. Moving on to the main floor. This is the kitchen. It was actually installed improper. When we pulled out those cabinets, it came off so easily. Most of these walls are plastered walls. Plastered walls are found in old homes, so they look like this. And the plaster would go on those strips of wood, and it's just a lot of time to build these walls. Look how narrow the olden day homes were in terms of the hallway. Here's another shot of the dining room. Just moving along. Moving on to the foyer here. This is the fireplace. Going up the stairs, you can see that we would eventually rip out this carpet. Second floor. This is the bedroom, so it's a good sound house. There's not too many issues that we found. There you have it. These are the before we went into the renovation. Okay, tip number 2, you gotta plan early because when we were doing our house, waiting on permits took a very long time. Start designing right after the offer is firm, before your house even closes. And the second thing is that you need to build a team. If you're doing this entire house, you'll need an architect, engineer, and so on. Make sure that you keep watch over them closely, and I suggest having daily meetings, whether it's over the phone or in person, just to keep track on what's happening on your project. So here are some pictures of the demolition. In this photo, the plastered walls are gone, and I'm going to show you a clip. Here you can see the main floor. The camera pans around. The 5/8 plywood is already in place. Now this shot is on a second floor, and we are going to pan around. On the second floor, the walls have already been removed, and when the camera tilts up, you can see that the ceiling's also gone. Right now it's just brick and wood. There's no plumbing, no electrical, everything's been ripped out. I heard from the contractor we spent 10 garbage bins to get through all of that. In this picture, it's just me reinforcing the joists. The joists are sandwiched in between 2x8. They're glued and nailed so that it can hold more weight. This is the framed in new 2-stage furnace system with an on-demand water heater. In this picture here, you can see that walls are gone, the drywall is in place, the electrical is in, the plumbing's roughed in. When we were doing the renovations, Drew and Jonathan came by to shoot their TV show, and this was just down the street, so I took a picture of that. Okay, moving on here, you can see that the paint is on, the flooring is done, the electrical is in. When we wait for the kitchen to be installed, we ordered the insulation. Moving on to the attic here, we can see that the insulation is up. This is after the drywall is installed. This is the completed picture of the attic. This stair was shipped from Vancouver and it worked really well. Here's the little guy shopping for furniture with mom. He's just really happy that we're getting more room. Okay, in this final picture, you can see that the kitchen is in place, the furniture is in. Here's a picture of the kitchen. It was a pretty large project, but I'm glad that we went through it and I've learned a lot from it. Scott McGilvery suggested to install dry barrier in the basement, which is a product where water can seep underneath the plastic at the same time keeping the floor in the basement nice and warm, and I find that pretty effective. This is before picture of the basement, and I'll show you a clip of the after renovated unit. Okay, tip number 3 is gotta know where to spend. So kitchens, adding bathrooms, bedrooms, as well as a garage or a shed are areas in which you want to concentrate spending your money on, because that's where it would increase the most value on your home. At the end of the renovation process, this project here I built on my own with the help of my family members. That we are building a shed, so the first thing to do is to scrape down, and I removed all the soil in the top, and I ordered some 1/4-inch gravel to put at the bottom. And guess who's driving? It's the little guy. He's coming out from his vehicle. And then here's my brother helping me pour the 1/4-inch gravel in there. Here he is helping me build the foundation, which we use 2x6 pre-treated wood. I'll roll a little clip here. Okay, here we bought some 2x4, and here I'm framing up the walls with him. I think it's a great experience. He learned quite a bit. And here he is hanging around with Ling Ling. Okay, now that the walls are up, my brother is playing with him. The next day, he went up on the ladder, and then it was time to build the trusses. I believe these are what it's called for the roof. So we were to build these on ground, make sure everything's leveled off, and then we were going to put it right up on the roof. Here's my wife helping me put these trusses up. We used string to hold up the line to make sure everything's properly centered. Our picture here. And this is the plywood that goes on. Once the inspector approves everything, I continued with the project. So these are custom doors made out of 2x4. And so once the doors were installed, I put up the window, and then here is the complete shed. Here's tip number 4. It's quite important because it talks about financing. It's not for everyone because it depends on your risk level. One of the ways that people can pull large amounts of funds for their renovation is that if you feel comfortable borrowing private funds on a short-term basis at a slightly higher interest rate, then you can use those funds to put into your renovation. Just because it's a fixer-upper in an excellent neighborhood, when the renovation is completed, you have equity. So you can refinance your mortgage at a conventional mortgage with the bank and pay back the lender at the same time your home is completed. So that's how you can get a large budget on your renovation project. So there you have it, the 4 tips. I wanted to do it because I wanted to help people currently in this position, and I know that always had problems finding a home because they're so expensive, and then let alone renovating it. I hope this finds it inspiring, and I hope if you have any questions, leave a comment. I'm always looking for homes to purchase. If you know anyone selling, contact me. Thank you.
And I'm stuck to you, but I'm cozy and I don't wanna wiggle loose. I don't